It's not often I'm surprised by something about the BBC anymore, but this genuinely I found surprising. Catch the TV licence goons knocking on your door even if you ain't at home by using a video doorbell. Use the link on the screen or down below in the description thing to have a look at my top recommendations. Hi, it's me again, and not going to be a long or an in-depth video this. I just want to talk about it quickly before I make a proper video about it all, because I was flicking through the FOI requests that I bookmarked to talk about in the future, and I'd completely forgotten I'd bookmarked this one. This was the FOI request itself. Look. Dear BBC, please provide a list of all IPs and domain names for BBC services online. Now, the gentleman that asked this FOI, George Robinson, he asked this so he could make sure that his router was completely blocked against all BBC services, and that's fine, whatever you want to do with that one, George, but it did lead to a really interesting response. And there's a lot. I did not know the BBC had this amount of IP addresses, this amount of domain names. It's surprising. Have a look. I'll just scroll it along. Look at that. There are loads, isn't there? So I thought in a bit of an informal way, because I'm going to have a bit of a deep dive into some of them, but I thought in an informal way, we're just going to click a few at random and see what they're about. We'll just burn off a few minutes of your life on this video, but we might stumble across something really interesting. I haven't clicked any of these. As you can see, look, they're all blue. Well, they won't be blue by the time you see this, though, will they? Because I'd have clicked on some soz. But yeah, they will. I promise you, on the screen here, they're all blue. So let's just click some at random. Where are we? bbcphotosales.co.uk. So this is the BBC Photo Archive. Look, you can explore BBC copyright images and license them for editorial use yourself. So how much are they charging for this? That's a nice little money maker for the Beeb, isn't it? Selling your photos. So the first one I've just stumbled across is the Queen's Christmas message from 1993. So let's have a look how much this is. Add it to the basket. Oh, restricted asset. It doesn't want to tell me. Doesn't want to tell me. I'll have a dig about. I'm going to put that away. I'm going to dig back into this one. Right, let's pick another domain name. Goldfishbowlproductions.co.uk. Ah, it's dead. Shame. Hoity-toity.co.uk. Dead. A lot of these would have been bought for TV shows as for props to do with the show. So if you see like weird ones, look like smellslikedebbie.co.uk, they'll all be dead because they were just bought as props for TV shows. You know, then I'm not going to have too big a dig at the BBC because they're not exactly expensive to buy these things, are they? But when you put a website behind them, that's where the money comes from. I know because it's what I do for a living. Or bbcrussian.com. See if that's still live, shall we? Yeah, still live. So if you have a look, there's quite a few here. Look, BBC Persian, BBC Portuguese, BBC Somali, BBC Indonesian. They're just copies of the BBC News website in other languages. But it's not like they've just run a Google Translate on it. The articles look like they've been rewritten to make sense in that language rather than just copy and pasted through Google Translate. That's a lot of money. That would cost a lot of money to do. If that's what I can't tell you for sure if that's what they do. I might do an FOI on it to ask actually. But if that's what they're doing, they're rewriting the news articles in different languages. It means they've got to employ somebody on a full-time basis for each language that they make. That's pretty wide. So I'm going to do an FOI on that. That could come up to be a good little story, that. Oh, speaking of languages, I just remembered there was one that I go on occasionally because I just find it astonishing, right? BBC, Google it. I don't think it's on that list. I didn't see it on that list anyway. BBC Pigeon. They write the BBC News website in Pigeon English. In Pigeon English for the African market. Who's doing it? They pay somebody. Because I don't think you can Google. Can you Google translate into Pigeon English? How? I tell you what, Google terrifies me sometimes. Right? I just typed in. I'm going to screenshot it for you. I just typed in Google Translate, and the first ones that come up: Google Translate Pigeon and English to Nigerian Pigeon. Now I've got tracker blockers on here. Google cannot track what I do in this browser. How did it know? It's scary. Anyway. No, sadly, it turns out that Pigeon English is not in Google Translate. So that tells you but it can't just be one person, right? They translate loads of BBC News articles and they do ones for the African market as well, specific ones for this BBC Pigeon website. Okay? But you can't just employ one person to translate the news articles. So they must have a team of journalists in that area coming up with articles, and then they must have more than one person doing the translation for the standard English articles, right? Because what if they're off sick, or what if they're on holiday? You've got to have more than one, haven't you? How much is it costing them to produce BBC News Pigeon? And let's face it, there's no TV licence fee in Africa. Well, there is, but not for the BBC. So we're paying for that. Why can't they just get their own news? Why do they? What? How many users does BBC Pigeon get? Let's have a look. You can find that out roughly. Ah, no, shame. Because they're using a subdirectory off the main BBC.com, it's /Pigeon, it's not its own domain. I can't really find the stats. Unless I do find some stats a bit later after filming this, and then I'll chuck them on over the top. Soz. So yeah, this Freedom of Information request that I found is going to lead to a few more Freedom of Information requests. Do you not find it ridiculous that if you pay your TV licence fee out there, that they're using that money to create websites in other languages to give news or their own type of government propaganda out to the world, but you're paying for that? Those users aren't. All right, granted, there may be ads on some of it, but not on the main BBC.com one. There won't be. And let's face it, who uses a website without using an ad blocker anymore anyway? It's just more and more waste of money. This is why the 3.7 billion quid a year that BBC get from TV licence fees doesn't stretch all the way because of waste like this. Let me know what you think about it all down in the comments below. So I'm going to take a deeper dive in this and go through some of them, file a few more requests, and hopefully we'll get a few more stories out of this. And if you want to see them, make sure you're subscribed, and you might stumble across them in the future. Ta-da!